everyone, we are Sofia Antonietti
and Antonella Sofietti.
And today we are going to talk about the Ukrainian war. So Antonella, do you know what it is? I have a few ideas and I want to know more.
Well, I actually don't know a lot of things about it, but I know it's an important and global issue because it has created and still creating a lot of problems to the countries all over the world. Moreover, a lot of people are dying because of this war.
Okay, let's know more listening to our specialist, Matteo Guernelli.
The war in Ukraine is a burning topic which interests all the people in the world. Most people think it started recently, during the February 2022, but this conflict has existed since 2014 because in those years Russia wanted the regions of Donbas and Crimea. Then in 2022 the International Association NATO asked Ukraine to enter their political coalition, but since Ukraine is a nation neighboring Russia and Russia is one of the most important enemies of NATO, Russia didn't like to have NATO's allies nearby, so Vladimir Putin, Russian ruler, asked United States of America to not let Ukraine enter NATO. Joe Biden, USA ruler, wanted to help Ukraine to go against Russia by giving them soldiers, war equipment, weapons, planes and tanks. But this isn't the only reason for which Russia started invading Ukraine. Another why is that Ukraine during the supremacy of URSS was a part of the Soviet Union, so Putin wanted to take it back. Those are the whys war started.
Thank you, Guernelli. I didn't know all these things.
Me neither. And what about the role of the UN in this war?
I don't know. Let's listen to Giacomo Failla's speech.
If we are talking about UN, then we have to say what it is and what does it have to do with this war. UN is an acronym standing by United Nations, which main aim is to maintain peace all around the world. It's formed by 193 countries, including the Vatican State and Palestine. Since UN's main aim is to guarantee peace in the world, stop the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is its job. This war started soon after Kiev, Ukrainian city, had convened to the United Nations Security Council to decide what to do. This council brought to our attention the fact that Vladimir Putin declared war in a moment where peace was being restored. So, the General Secretary Antonio Guterres asked Putin gently to recall the Russian soldiers. But the UN can do a lot because the United Nations has a very intricate system based on permanent members, which are China, France, United Kingdom, Russia and USA. To do something, the UN needs the agreement of at least 9 nations who has the right of decision. But if one of the permanent members is in disagreement, the plan needs to be cancelled. As a consequence, Russia is in disagreement with the thoughts of UN, and for that why they can do anything to help Ukraine.
Interesting, but it is sad to see how impotent is an organization that has to maintain the peace.
You're right. But now let's interrupt our conversation to talk about the weather. That's important too.
Yes, I really want to know if tomorrow will rain hamburgers. The temperature in Italy tomorrow in the near morning is 13 degrees. If you take into account factors such as wind, humidity and other weather conditions, the temperature can feel like 12 degrees. The chance of rain in Italy in the morning is 0% and the wind will blow at 6 km per hour. At the noontime is 24 degrees and it will feel like 25. The humidity will be around 48% with a wind speed of 4 km per hour. The temperature tomorrow's evening will get 24.
We are back!
Yes, as you have already said, there are many consequences of this war. Matilda Risi will explain us them.
Every war brings consequences, and so the war in Ukraine does, not only politically but also and mostly economically. The main consequences affected firstly the prices of both the energy and the food, which started to rise even more while the economy was still recovering after the pandemic. Before the war started, provisions estimated that in 2022 the growth of the global economy would have been around 5%, but when the invasion began, the economic growth of 2023 was thought to increase only by 3.1%, while the reality is actually much worse, with it increasing by only 0.3%. The main issue for the entire Europe and European economy was the lack of supplies Russia used to provide. The main issue for the entire Europe and European economy was the lack of energy supplies Russia used to provide. In 2022, the 60% of all the Russian oil exports used to go to Europe, as well as the 74% of the dry natural gas. This makes more than evident how much Europe relied on Russian gas, so it's not difficult to imagine how many problems the war caused. In order to stop using Russian gas, a lot of European countries started to use again the coal-fired energy generation. But the solution that almost all of them are going to use is the LNG, liquid natural gas, which could be imported by USA, but unfortunately there aren't enough supplies to fulfill the European demand. So a final solution to the issue is still being searched. If we look instead at the damage caused to Ukraine, the reparation, as the World Bank estimated, should cost about $349 billion. Ukraine, of course, demanded reparation, but these are very unlikely to occur right now, and in the future they will highly depend on the end of the war. Until the fighting stops, however, there isn't anything more than repairs to restore electricity or guarantee water, and humanitarian help to provide medical care or housing that can be done to help Ukraine.
As we know, there are a lot of consequences for the population too. I'm not sure to know them.
I'm not sure too, so let's know more about this topic. Gabriela will help us.
Warms have global and national consequences. Every warm comes with one or more consequences, and the war in Ukraine was not different. The war between Russia and Ukraine brought consequences for the countries involved and the international community, affecting the political, economic, and social spheres. The main points and impacts generated by this conflict are: Ukraine counts 8,000 civilians dead and more than 3,000 wounded since the beginning of the war. The number of fatalities among the Ukraine military ranges from 1,000 to 300. Ukraine refugees seeking shelter in other countries add up to more than 8 million people. Among their main destinations are Poland, Belarus, Moldova, Croatia, Bulgaria, Romania, and Slovakia. Imposition of economic sanctions against Russia, affecting sectors such as the export of natural gas and oil. The sanctions come mainly from European countries. Within Ukraine, there are 6.6 million internal refugees who seek shelter in areas different from where they live. Increase in poverty of the Ukrainian population and sheer crash of Ukraine's national economy. Increase in Russia's economic deficit. Fuel and food prices worldwide, given that the countries involved in the conflict are major producers and exporters of fossil fuels and grains, such as wheat, more recently whatever the price of some foods was fallen. Military, financial, and humanitarian aid to Ukraine from several countries. The United States tops the list of values provided, especially in the military apparatus. Next are the European Union, the United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, and Poland.
There are a lot of people dying. This is so unfair.
Yes, it is. But did you know that there are also other aspects of this war, like other issues and other problems?
I really don't know, but Flaminia Impieri will help us.
Because of this war, many rights and even duties have been violated. Among these is the right to information. Within this conflict, the great leaders of Russia rely on the ignorance of the people, caused precisely by the misinformation desired by Putin. According to recent research in Russia, since before the war began, fake news have been spread about Ukraine, which was defined as a not sovereign state, Nazi, which rightfully belongs to Russia, and which is inhabited by citizens who have freely expressed the will to return to Russia. Thus, driven by a liberal sentiment, Russia would start this war precisely to free the citizens from the tyranny of the Ukrainian government. Unfortunately, the population, not having the necessary means to document themselves and to understand what information is true and which is only the result of the propaganda of some members of the Kremlin, they blindly believe everything they are told, so much so that they are convinced that Russia will surely emerge victorious from this war, that Ukrainian citizens are victims of government repression and genocide, that Russia is fighting against the West, and that Ukraine is only the battlefield on which Russia is trying to defend itself from the enemies of the West. With these false myths, Russia tries to give reasons to support his position in the war, which, due to the misinformation of the population in the eyes of civilians, appear completely reasonable. Thanks to this great problem, Putin, who has been influencing the minds of the Russians since 2021, a year before the war began, manages to win the favor of the population who see Russia as a victim and Putin as a savior fighting the Ukrainian and Western threat. In recent years, research has been conducted by DFR Lab, which has analyzed more than 9,000 news exchanges between 2014 and 2021. In this research, it turned out that more than 400 of these are fake news and were spread by the Kremlin. According to more in-depth studies, Russia is using this false information to demoralize Ukrainians and to exploit divisions between NATO countries. In fact, through social media, Russia are spreading information that Ukrainians, with the help of the West, are hiding the side effects of vaccines, and that they are also repressing the inhabitants of some areas of Ukraine. What is serious, and if we want, we can also define disturbing, is the fact that Russia is even trying to attack and hack the Starlink satellites, that are a set of satellites designed by Elon Musk and forming the largest constellation of satellites in the world. This system allows the spread of news all over the world, and therefore, if these were controlled by those who spread false information, would be a serious problem. This because without information it is not possible to elaborate your own ideas and therefore be free to think, nor are Russian citizens forced to receive information created specifically to prevent them from being given the freedom they deserve by a government that can now be called a dictatorship.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for joining us. See you next week. Goodbye. I'm filming now.